everyone, welcome to the Collapse Experiment. Slightly different view here today. Not even a snow day. It's extremely cold. My youngest daughter was sent home early from school yesterday because she had a fever. Of course, no symptoms of anything. I don't know if it's the teachers trying to be nice and making sure she doesn't catch the weird stuff going around, or if they're just overly cautious. Because most of the kids in her class are not picked up by their parents because they're like, I'm at work. Oh, when everything is your fault. This can apply to a lot of different situations. At home, at work, with family. It's usually from people who just don't like taking accountability for shit that they themselves do. As you'll see in my story. So when you work at the hospital, the person at the bottom of the ladder, which was my position, usually the finger gets pointed at them for things. If there's a way to point the finger at that person, that's where it gets aimed at. So one day, I'm working in the ER, and this accident comes in. So we have this accident that comes in, right? And everyone from the doctors on down flood into this room. And the whole procedure is to get them stabilized so that they can send this person over to the ICU. Or they try to keep them stabilized until they can go to surgery, or vice versa. Maybe they're getting them the surgery, then they're being sent to the ICU. Either way, we've got nurses, doctors, patient care assistants, all these people running around, grabbing this, throwing that. These rooms are a complete cluster mess, if you're familiar with the phrase, by the time it's done. Blood all over the floor. Half the wrappers for different things that they unpackage are either on the counter, on the floor. None of it's in the trash cans. And the patient gets moved out, and it's like I don't know how to describe it. It's like one of these flash mobs. Like, oh, cops are on their way, and everybody floods out of the Walgreens or Rite Aid or whatever it is that they're robbing at the time. And then it just disappears within like 10, 15 seconds. It's kind of how these trauma rooms are. Like once the patient's out, everybody floods back to where they originally were beforehand because they've got 3 or 4 patients that they're taking care of at any given point in time. So me and the people I'm working with, we go into the trauma room and I start clearing off the counters. You want to clear off the counters first, get rid of the wrappers so that, if there's any sharps, any needles, syringes, anything that didn't end up in a needle box like it's supposed to, which happens all the time, you can easily find those and discard them properly. So I'm taking care of the trash and the wrappers and bagging stuff up, and then I'm taking care of the little stuff on the counter. So we had these stethoscopes. You could get them in the supply closet. And every unit, every floor has a supply closet. And any PCA or nurse that doesn't have a stethoscope can go in and get one of these cheap things that work just as well as any of the other ones. And you know what they look like when you work there. They're the dark blue ones. There's no emblem on them. There's nothing that makes them look special. It doesn't have 2 tubes instead of the 1 tube. And there's a bunch of stethoscopes that are, not a bunch, there's like 2 stethoscopes that were on the counter that somebody probably just whipped off and threw it on the counter as they're going about doing their thing. Well, whenever we come across these, for a short period of time, We're supposed to wipe them down, make sure they're sanitized, and put them back in the supply room. Well, then somebody threw a fit saying, like, that's not sanitary. Sterilizing a stethoscope and putting it back so somebody else can use it when it's clean is not sanitary. So we were ordered to start throwing these things away, and we've been doing this for a while. So the 2 stethoscopes, I look at them, make sure they're not something else, throw them away. Go about my business, and just as we're finishing up the room, like we're making a new cart, we're putting the sheet on it, we're finishing up mopping the floor, this new doctor that had just been hired, I think like maybe a couple weeks prior, she comes in and is like, have you guys seen my stethoscope? I'm like, oh, well, what color is it? And she tells me, and I'm like, no. She's like, well, did you see any stethoscopes? And I said, yeah, a couple of the dark blue ones, but, we throw those away. And she's like, you threw away my stethoscope? Keep in mind, there's like no communication going on here, right? Other than, I know what I threw away. I don't know exactly what she's looking for, but it doesn't match the description of what I threw away. And then when I tell her what I threw away, describing it to her, she says, you threw away my stethoscope. And she storms out of the room. She goes to the charge nurse. She starts throwing this huge shit fit about how I threw away her $300 or $400 stethoscope that her family bought her for Christmas or graduation or some stupid shit, and that she's never going to get that back. So the trash had already gone down the chute, and by that point in time, the big bin at the bottom of the chute had been taken to the dock where it was thrown into the compactor. Yeah. And it only gets worse from there. So the next thing I know, the charge nurse is coming in saying, like, why'd you throw a stethoscope away? I'm like, I didn't. But you did throw away a stethoscope. I'm like, I threw away 2 stethoscopes. They're like, well, how do you know it's not hers? Dude, I know what an expensive stethoscope looks like. I know you think because I do this job that I'm some type of retarded dumb shit that doesn't know what the fuck I'm doing. But I know what I'm supposed to throw away and not throw away. It's not like I gave them a bunch of shit for like, hey, I found another syringe over here that had been used on a patient, not thrown into the damn needle box like it's supposed to be. No. But this is what I was getting. I had nurses that had never talked to me before. One in particular comes to mind. This little short bald guy that always had a fucking attitude problem. I don't know if it's because he looked like Uncle Fester or because he was gay or because no gay guys were into Uncle Fester. I don't know. But he comes up to me saying, how stupid can you be? How could you do that? Why would you throw someone else's things away? Blah, blah, blah. You're an idiot. I hope they get rid of you. This is the type of shit I was having said to my face over something I know I didn't do. So then they call the director of my department, and she comes up with her entourage, because of course these people, they can't take care of business on their own. They've got to have like their secretary with them, and like the secretary's pet, and then there's the person that hangs out with the secretary. Yeah, so there's like 4 or 5 people coming up, and they're saying to her like what they think happened. And then she comes to me and says, well, what is going on here? I said, I never saw the stethoscope they're talking about. What I threw away was this. It's already been put down the chute. When I talked to so-and-so, they said that's already gone into the trash compactor. According to OSHA, we're not supposed to go in the trash compactor. And she starts nodding her head like, uh-huh. So because this doctor was throwing such a bitch fit about this and getting on her ass now about something I allegedly had done, she sends that guy who works in the ground floor out to the trash compactor, shuts off the power to it, and has him crawl into it to get the bags of trash from that trauma room. So this continues on for like another half hour, 45 minutes. People are still throwing a fit. Keep in mind, there's patients in the ER, right? There's people that need to be taken care of. But for some reason, this bitch's stethoscope is the number one priority on everybody's list. I don't know, like, if she saved the Pope at some point in time, she created a cure for cancer. I don't understand why everybody is trying to lick her chocolate starfish, okay? This just doesn't make any sense to my head. But everybody is catering to this chick. Meanwhile, I'm just sitting there like, I really don't give a shit because I did nothing wrong. So, almost an hour after all this crap starts, the guy from the ground floor, he comes up and he tells our boss, like, well, this is what I found, and sure as shit, it's the two dark blue stethoscopes that are disposable, that are supposed to be thrown away, and it's not the ones that this chick is looking for, which is exactly what I said. But I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, because, again, I'm just some dumb shit that apparently can sterilize a room and make sure nobody gets an infection during a very critical point in time in their life when that's a very real possibility. No, I'm just an idiot. And then this patient care assistant, she walks up and she's looking around and she's like, what is going on? And she asks somebody, like, what is everybody so pissed off about? And they tell her, like, oh, we're looking for the stethoscope, blah, blah, blah. And she goes and she does one of these and she's like, is it this one? And the doctor comes over, the same one that has been throwing this fit, right? She comes over and goes, oh my God, you have it. And she's like, I must have accidentally grabbed it. I just was looking for mine on the counter. I had to go check something. So I grabbed whatever I saw, yada, yada, yada. And not once, not from one single person, not even fucking Uncle Fester. Fuck that guy, you know who you are. No one in that situation, except for my boss, who was called to that floor, the director for my department, she's the only one that apologized to me for what happened. Even the people who were talking shit to me to my face, it was like, it was that realization of, like, now that you work here, you're the whipping boy for when something goes wrong. When everybody's stressed out and they don't know what to do, they're just going to take it out on you. So, are there good things about this? Are there things that we can learn? I learned what every asshole on that shift is. Each and every one of them. I had that shit in my head. When they ask for help, no. Pretend you don't even hear what they say. Yeah. It was an amazing situation to be in, where you know you're innocent, you didn't do anything wrong, you followed the protocol, and in reality, had she just taken care of her own shit and maybe not bring a $300-400 piece of equipment to work with her, she wouldn't have lost it. But no. And the PCA, the one that actually grabbed the stethoscope, if you're wondering, did she get in any trouble? No. Like, the whole thing was dropped at that moment. So this one bitch, this one doctor who threw this fit, had somebody going into a trash compactor looking for her stethoscope. Did she thank that guy? No. He's just doing his job. He's doing what he should be doing. No, he broke so many fucking laws doing that, all to satisfy her. For no reason other than she couldn't keep an eye on her own shit. Yeah, when everything is your fault. That's just one example of some of the crazy shit that happened to me over the years. But yeah, no, that's a good one. That's one that came to mind right away where I was like, yeah, that one time. And I'm sure at some point, I never heard anyone say it, but I'm sure at some point somebody suggested like, well, maybe they're stealing it because they know it's worth money. Somebody grabbed the wrong scope off the counter, went to break or lunch or something, comes back and is like, what is all the fuss? Oh, are you looking for this one? And yeah, I never got an apology from any of those assholes. Any of them. I'm pretty sure I remember who the charge nurse was too, and he was a fucking asshole too. This little bald fuck that thought he could put his dick in everything. Married, not married, he did not give a shit. But yeah, Uncle Fester, that the nerve of that guy. Oh my god. And why would a 40 something year old dude get braces? I never understood that either. It's like if you're trying to improve your looks, that's not helping. So yeah, when everything is your fault. And I'm sure you guys have stories like that too, where it's just like, I don't know why everybody was yelling at me. It's because you were the target. You're the one where they're like, I will get in no trouble if I start yelling at that piece of shit. Fucking new guy. Oh my god. Yep. Anyways, that's about it for that story. Keep on typing.